Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Google Digital Garage. Just before we get started, just to make sure everyone can see and hear me correctly, if you're having any problems today with the picture or the sound, all you need to do in most cases is just refresh the page. That usually fixes most of our issues. If you're still having problems, the best thing that you can do is go to the bottom right corner of your YouTube video and you should see your YouTube settings there. If you click on them, you'll be able to adjust your settings and hopefully it'll make everything run a little bit smoother. So hello, welcome to Getting Started with Analytics. My name is Zoe. I'm one of the trainers for the Google Digital Garage. I'm a trained marketer. I've been working in marketing for nearly 10 years now. And I've been working in all sorts of different areas of marketing. One of the areas that I really love and an area that I think is really underused is data and analytics. I think it's incredibly useful to be able to see what's working about your marketing, what isn't working, the aspects of your sort of social media that are going really well, the things that aren't going so well, because you can use all of that data to improve your marketing and to find new customers and to grow your audience. And that's what we're going to look at today. So I'm really excited to take you through everything that we've got to go through today. I am, of course, not alone. I'm being joined today by Benedict. Now, Benedict is our moderator. And what that means is if you've got any questions, if you've got any issues, all you need to do is go into the text chat, which you should see. Usually it's to the right-hand side of the video. It might be underneath it, depending on how you're watching. And you'll see that Benedict is there. And Benedict's there to answer all your questions, to ask some questions of his own, maybe, to share links, and to basically be an all-round helpful person. And that's what our moderators are there for. And Benedict is obviously a fantastic moderator. So if you do have any questions at any point in the session, you can always pass them over to Benedict. We are going to have some set question breaks, but because there is a little bit of a delay between me speaking and you hearing me, it might be that when we get to the question breaks, by the time that you've typed in your question, I've already moved on. Which, obviously I'll try not to have that happen, but it does happen because of the delay. So rather than waiting for the breaks, if you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat as soon as you think of them, and Benedict will pass them over to me, or potentially answer them himself. And then either way, you will get a fantastic answer to your question, hopefully. Other things to say before we start. First of all, if you are interested in our other webinars, we've got loads and loads and loads of other webinars. They're all completely free, just like this one, and they're all available just by going onto YouTube and watching them, just like this one. There is a link in the video description that will take you to all of our planned webinars. Keep checking back on it because we're adding new ones all the time. We usually have about the next sort of 2 weeks to a month planned out. So do keep an eye on that. And you'll see we've got webinars in all sorts of different topics. Again, a lot of them to do with marketing, but also to do with things like building your own CV, building your personal brand, things like that. So do keep an eye on that. Today, we've got 3 main topics. We do tend to break our presentations down into 3. The first thing we're going to do is look at the questions that you can ask of data to work out how your business is doing and to work out sort of what you need to know. The next thing we're going to look at is which tools are available that will let you answer those questions. And then finally, we're going to do a bit of a deeper dive into Google Analytics. And that's going to be the tool we'll focus on for the last sort of half of the session or so. Before we get going, I just want to highlight one thing for anybody who is part of a small business or a charity in the UK. We do currently have free one-to-one mentoring available. We've got the link there on the screen. I'm sure Benedict will be popping it in the chat as well. Our one-to-one mentoring sessions, like it says there, they're completely free. You get a full hour with a Google Digital Garage trainer. And what that means is that you can basically talk through any issues that you have, any questions you have, any problems you're having with your marketing, your website, getting online in the first place, anything at all, really. And we are always more than happy to help out. So anyone who wants to take advantage of that, you get a free one-to-one mentoring session. There's no catch. You don't need to sign up for a certain number of sessions and just the first one is free or anything like that. It's just a free mentoring session that hopefully all of you will be able to benefit from. So check out the link that's on the screen there and the link that Benedict has shared in the chat. So let's get started, and let's get started with asking the right questions and working out exactly what do we need to ask in order to make sure our business is doing as well as possible. What questions do we need to think about? And we've got four main questions. We're going to look at the first two now, and then the second two we're going to look in subsequent sections. The first two are, what is my objective? And then what question do I need to address? Then we're going to look at where we get the information, and finally we're going to look at what we can do with that information. But first of all, what is your objective? We need to define what our objectives are. We need to work out what exactly is it your business is hoping to achieve. Because anybody who's opened up any kind of analytics platform before, whether it's Google Analytics, or maybe you've looked at your Facebook page insights, or your Twitter analytics, or anything at all, you've probably seen that there's a lot of data out there. Like, you open up the analytics platform and you're just bombarded with numbers and lots of terms that you've maybe never heard of before. Things like bounce rate or number of new sessions, and you're sort of wondering what all of these numbers actually mean. Well, the thing is, on their own, they don't mean a lot, because you can look at all of them and build up a wild and varied picture of your business, but it's not going to be a very helpful picture of your business. In order to really understand the data, we've got to understand what your business is hoping to achieve. And then we can look at the data that will tell you how well you are doing at achieving that, and maybe help you work out how you could be doing better. So it has to start with that objective. It has to start with understanding, what exactly do you want to do with your business? What do you want your business to achieve? So here are some example objectives. I'm going to talk about three of them first, and then I'm going to talk about the fourth, which I don't actually like. So objectives here. Number one, tell more people about my business. Maybe you've worked out that the thing that your business is struggling with is not many people have actually heard of you. And maybe you've worked out that when people do hear about you, they think, great, well, that's a wonderful product or a wonderful service, and they tend to become customers. So your challenge is getting your name out there. Well, then you want to tell more people about your business. Maybe you want to identify your most valuable customers. Maybe you've noticed that a few customers are making a lot of purchases, or they're making very high value purchases. And you want to work out, well, who exactly are these customers? What links them? What kind of person is most likely to become a really valuable customer? So you can start marketing more to that kind of person. Maybe you've worked out that one of the things you struggle with is repeat business, that people buy your product once, but then don't come back and buy it again. In which case, you might be looking at number 4 there, which is finding new ways to engage with previous customers. So you're working out, what is it that my previous customers, that my current customers want in order to come back another time. So the one I've not really talked about there is objective number 2, which is sell more of my product or service. And the reason why I don't really love that as an objective is because every business has that as an objective. It's kind of broad, isn't it? Every single business out there, pretty much their objective is to sell more of their product or service, no matter what that product or service is. That's how a business makes money. That's how a business survives. So every business is going to want to sell more of their product or service. That's not a great objective to have, because I'm not so much interested in that. I'm interested in how you're going to sell more of your product or service. What's stopping you from selling more at the minute? Is it that people just aren't engaging with your marketing? Is it that, again, maybe people haven't heard of you? Is it that people are buying your product once but then never coming back again? All of these things are useful because they tell us where you're falling down. They tell us where your weak points are, and they give us really actionable steps that we can do to shore up those weak points. So that's really useful. But just telling me I want to sell more of my product or service, that's too vague an objective. We need to make it more specific, and then we can start looking at the data to work out how to answer it, how to work out how to solve that objective. So next section, the next question to ask is, what question do I need to address? So once you've worked out your objective, we can start looking at what kind of thing we are really needing to address in order to improve our business, in order to succeed at that objective. And this can be answered by looking at something called the sales funnel. Now, the sales funnel, if you Google sales funnel, you will see a picture like this, but you'll probably see a billion different pictures that are all quite different, but they all kind of boil down to the same thing. Some people add extra steps. You quite often see a sales funnel with 5 steps or 6 steps. I've seen some with sort of 11, 12, 13 steps before, but ultimately they all boil down to the same 4 steps. So it's not really worth making it more complicated. And those 4 steps, again, you might see them referred to in different ways, but they are reach, engage, activate, and nurture. And this funnel basically tells you everything you need to know about how your customers interact with you. The specifics are going to be different for every business, but ultimately, most businesses, the vast majority of businesses, their customers and their clients will follow this model of the funnel. So it starts with reach, and sometimes this is called the awareness stage as well. And the reach stage is the point where people haven't heard of you, and the thing that customers will first do when they interact with your business is they'll become aware of you. You will reach them. So that's the top of the funnel, and you can think of the funnel, your customers going into the funnel, but they leave at different points. That's why it's a funnel. It gets narrower towards the bottom. So the awareness stage is when they're just becoming aware of you. They learn what your business is. Your awareness phase could come in all sorts of ways. Maybe you see an online advert. Maybe you're walking down the street and you see a physical store, or you see a social media post, and all of these things could make you aware of a new business. There's a new shop opened up near me. It's called World's Best Banh Mi. A banh mi is a type of Vietnamese sandwich that I hadn't had before. So my awareness stage with that business was literally I walked past that shop, I saw the name, and I'd never heard of the product before. I'd never heard of the business before. So that was my awareness phase. I had entered into the top of the funnel. The next stage is the engagement stage. And that's where people start interacting with your business. Now, that doesn't mean that they're buying anything. It just means that they're interacting or they're becoming interested. Again, sometimes this is called the interest stage. So in my case, the banh mi case, this is me maybe looking at the menu. I've not only heard of the business, but I'm now starting to get interested in it. I'm starting to engage with it. I'm looking at their materials, like their menu, and learning more about the business and what it is they do. I'm looking and seeing, oh, that sandwich looks really nice. That banh mi sounds delicious. It doesn't mean I'm going to make a purchase, but it means I'm interested in it. Now, again, it is a funnel. So most of your customers will get to the awareness stage, and then some of them are going to vanish. Some of them are going to become aware of your business and go, okay, that business isn't actually for me. And they're going to leave. And that's okay. That's natural. That's a normal thing that happens. And again, when we get to the interest stage, some of your customers are going to become interested in your business, and they're going to go, great, I'm gonna actually make a purchase. But some of them are going to be, and this is my banh mi tale, unfortunately. I became interested in the business. I looked at the menu. I thought the menu looked really good, but I wasn't hungry. So I'm still at the interest phase. I'm still interested in the business, but I've not made a purchase. So you could see me as trapped in that interest stage of the funnel, or maybe you could say that I've left the funnel altogether. Maybe at some point I'm going to forget about the banh mi shop, and then I'll have to go right back to the top of the funnel and become aware of it all over again. But the next stage is the activate stage. And again, some of your customers aren't going to get there. That's why it's a funnel. It gets smaller at every stage. But the activate stage is when they actually make a purchase. Again, sometimes it's called the action stage. That would be going in and making a purchase. It could be making a booking. It could be signing you on as a client. It could be signing a contract. However your business works, it's the thing you want your customers to do. It's the thing that makes you money. That's the stage that a lot of businesses focus on. But of course, there are 2 stages before that are really important. So you can't just focus on the activate phase. You need to focus on all of the phases and work out which one you're not getting a lot of customers into. And then finally, probably the most underrated part of the sales funnel, the nurture phase, sometimes called the advocacy phase. And that is when you get return customers, repeat customers, and customers that leave reviews or tell their friends and family about you. We really, really want that, because you know what all of those customers is free marketing, and really effective free marketing. Think about how well you would respond to an online advert compared to how well you would respond if your best friend told you, I had a really good sandwich at this new place. You would want to listen to your best friend. You'd want to listen to someone you trust. So we really, really, really want our audience to not only get to the activate phase, but get to the final phase in the sales funnel, which is the nurture phase, which is where they are returning customers, where they're making repeat purchases, and they're telling people about your business and how much they love it. So those are the 4 stages. So let's think about the questions that we might ask at each of the phases. Excuse me, you might be able to hear I've got a little bit of a cough at the minute. So the reach phase, questions that we can ask ourselves right now, when we're right at the start at the awareness phase. Number 1, how are people finding you online? What are they searching for? Is it that when they go to somewhere like Google, and they're looking for a product or a service like yours, what words are they typing in? What are they actually putting into search engines to try and find products and services like yours? And how can you then turn up in those search results when they do? And in terms of how are people finding you online, where do your customers come from? Do you get many people coming from search engines? Do they come from social media? Do they come from email? Maybe you've got a really good email newsletter. Understanding the reach phase is really key to understanding what people do, how you reach your new audience. How do you make more people aware of you? Engage questions. What are people engaging with once they find you online? What is it that they're reading? What is it that they're sharing? Which social media posts do they really like? Which of my online communications are people engaging with the most? How many comments are you getting on different social media posts or blogs? How many shares are you getting on your blogs? These are things that are going to help you work out how to engage your audience. What is it that they're really interested in? What kind of thing do they want to read? Do they want to hear? Because that's what's going to get them to the next stage. All of these questions are designed to work out, how do we move customers through the funnel? Activate questions. Which channels are driving bookings is a really good question. Where are your sales coming from? Is it from people who find you through social media? Maybe they're the people who buy the most. Is it people finding you through the search engines? Again, learning that is going to help you learn which customers to target. And who is my customer? What do we know about our audience? What appeals to them? What problems do they have? What are their demographic information? Again, all of this that we can use to appeal to them, to understand them, and to move them through that funnel. And last but not least, nurture questions. Are my customers talking about my business? Really important. Are we getting comments on our social media pages? Are we getting reviews? And do my customers buy from me again? So we've hit our first question break, and I'm just checking. I don't think we've got any questions at the minute. Doesn't look like we do. So I'm going to keep moving on. As I mentioned, there is a little bit of a delay. So if you're feverishly typing out a question right now, don't worry. We will have another question. In fact, we've got 2 more question breaks. And of course, Benedict is in the chat, and he will be able to answer some questions as well. So if you are having any questions, if you're not sure about anything, please feel free to pop them in the chat. And a few highs. I can see we've got Anita from Cardiff. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names, by the way. I will try and pronounce them correctly, but feel free to correct me if I'm pronouncing them wrong. We've got what looks like Hanaria joining from PH. I don't know where PH is. My first thought was Puerto Rico, which immediately I know is wrong because that would be PR. I don't know where PH is from, but thank you for joining us. Really glad to have you. I can see we've got Devanshu, we've got Rinky, and we've got Vishal who have joined us. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We thought this was going to be a bit of a quiet session, actually, but it looks like we've got a decent amount of people here, which is really lovely to see. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're enjoying the session so far. Brilliant. Let's move on to which tools to use. What can we actually use to get the answers to the questions that we've just asked? Now, it's going to depend on your business, on your audience, where your customers are. You know, there are a lot of different options. There are a lot of different places that we can find these answers. So I'm just going to give you a few of the major places that you can go to find these answers, but you might find that there are different places. And we're looking at the third question now in our little 4-question steps, which is where do we get the information? So there's loads of different tools, like I said. Here are just a few of them. So we've got social media, we've got organic search, we've got your website, and we've got paid search. Basically, any tool that you use online to market your business, whether that's your website or your Twitter account or your Facebook account or your Instagram account, or your Google Ads account, you know, any of these tools that you use will almost certainly have some kind of analytics built into them, some way of collecting data and showing you that data. We're not going to show you exactly how you can get to all of them because, again, it's different for each platform, and it means that we'd be here forever just showing you how to get onto the different analytics platforms. But we're going to give you an overview of most of the tools and how you can use them to find answers. So let's take a closer look then at some of these options. So number one is social media page insights. So if we want to find out what people are engaging with in your social accounts, then we need to look at our social media insights. Now, again, pretty much every social network has something like this, some kind of analytics tool. It's called Page Insights with Facebook. Sorry again, excuse me. It's called Twitter for Business, Instagram for Business. Again, it's different for every platform. But what they will show you on each of these analytics pages is they'll show you the data that they collect from each of the people, from all of the people who follow you on those platforms. So this is a snapshot of Facebook page insights. And you can see we've got some data here about the very basics. How many times has your page been viewed? How many times has your page been liked? How many people have seen the posts that you put on your pages? How many followers have you gained? And all of this is in a particular period of time, so around a month. We can learn loads and loads and loads using social media page insights. These are really, really good, for example, for finding out about your audience, because think about all of the data that we provide Facebook. You know, we tell Facebook our names, our addresses, our ages. We tell Facebook when we get married. We tell Facebook when we have kids. We tell Facebook where we went to school. And we tell Facebook our insights, our interests, because we like pages on Facebook. You know, maybe you're scrolling through and you see the page of your local football team and you hit like because you like your local football team. That tells Facebook what you're interested in. Now, as a business, we can use all that data, we can look at all that data, and we can understand a bit more about who our audience is. Things like, what's the gender balance? You know, what percentage of the people who follow you on Facebook are male or female? How old are they? Again, as an example. So there's loads that we can learn about our audience using social media page insights. And that can be really, really useful because it can tell you sort of things like shared interests, things that lots of people in your audience all tend to like, and that can give you a really good way to engage with them. Then we've got Google Search Console. Now, this is a little bit harder to set up. If you go to Google Search Console, you will be able to go through a sort of a step-by-step process that tells you how to set it up. But what it does is it uses your website and it measures data from your website to work out what people are searching Google for that lead them to your website. So, for example, if you sold running shoes, as a classic example that we use a lot, if you sell running shoes, maybe you go into Google Search Console and you see that the things that people are typing into Google are running shoes, shoes for running, athletic shoes, trainers, exercise shoes, all of these different terms that people are typing into Google. It tells you how many people are using those terms, and it tells you what percentage of those people see your result in the search results and what percentage of them click on that result. So that's telling you what sort of things people are searching for that are leading them to you. It's telling you what people are looking for out of your business. So it's giving you an insight into what people want from your business and why they might be clicking on your website when they see it in the search results. What it doesn't tell you is what keywords, what search terms are people typing in that aren't bringing up your website at all. It only shows the search terms that bring up your website in the search results. So if you sell running shoes and you haven't used the word trainers on your website at all, it might be that millions and millions of people are searching for trainers every single day, but because you haven't used that on your website isn't appearing in the search results. So that won't show up on Google Search Console. You won't be able to see that. So it is very useful, but just bear in mind it's only showing you what you currently are showing up for, not what you could be showing up for. So you do need to use your mind a little bit and look for what's missing. Look for any terms that you think, wait, why am I not appearing for that? But then it can be incredibly helpful. We've got Google Business Profile. Anyone who's set up their Google Business Profile, sorry, excuse me, I need some water, but I haven't got any in a minute. Anyone who sets up their Google Business Profile, which is connected to Google Maps, you will know that you've got an analytics tool there as well. That's going to tell you how many people are finding your business through Google Maps. So really good for people who've got a physical business, although it can be used by people who don't have a physical business, who just have an online business. It's going to tell you how many people ask for directions to your business if they use that function on Google Maps. It's going to tell you what percentage of people see you on Google Maps and then click through and go onto your website. So there's loads and loads and loads you can learn from your Google Business Profile. These things can be combined, something that I've not mentioned yet, but probably should have done. All of these things can be combined, remember. So you can look at your Google Business Profile data and also combine that with your Search Console data and your Facebook Page Insights data and sort of cross-reference them and see what that tells you about your business overall. And then, of course, we've got Google Analytics. Now, we are going to be looking at this in more detail in a second, but it is the world's most popular website analytics tool. It lets you monitor every single click that happens on your website. So we are going to take a closer look at Google Analytics in a second. But in the short term, it is what's going to tell you what people are doing once they come to your website. It will tell you where they came from. It will tell you what they looked at when they arrived on your website. It'll tell you when they left. And you can use that to see what parts of your websites are working, what parts of them are popular. And it helps you identify areas that you could be doing better with. So really, really important tool. So we have our second question break, and let me double check. No questions again, but hello, we've got some more hellos. Hi, Micah from the Philippines. Hi, Smriti, I think from Austin. Again, really sorry if I'm not pronouncing all those names right. And hi, Rinky from Pakistan. Thank you for joining us. It's really great. I love it when we get people from sort of all around the world. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And I hope that it's still useful. I hope that you're enjoying it. Brilliant. So let's look now at Google Analytics. Now, one sort of bit of a caveat for this section. This presentation, unfortunately, is a little bit out of date. Google very recently switched over from its old version of Google Analytics, which is called Universal Analytics, to Google Analytics 4. This current presentation is still looking at Universal Analytics. So the exact ways that you navigate Google Analytics aren't correct in this presentation. So I'm going to skim over those. But all of the data that we talk about in this presentation is still available on Google Analytics. It's just a matter of finding it. So we'll look at what sort of data you can get from Google Analytics and how you can use it. And that's the really important part, of course, is what do we do with this information? We can, I can show you how you get the information, but it's up to you to work out, well, what are you going to do with it? What steps are you going to take? I think that's a really, really important part of any kind of data, and it's the underrated part. I have had quite a lot of times when I've talked to clients where they've got loads of data. They've been really good at collecting data, but what they don't do is actually do anything with it. They'll look at it and go, well, we had 2,000 visitors to our site this month. And I'll go, great. That's fantastic. Really well done. What does that mean for you? What are you going to do about that? What are you going to change? And they won't have an answer. So the really important thing once you get this data is to understand what you do with it, what changes to make as a result of the information you see. So Google Analytics, when you open up Google Analytics, it's going to look something like this. And you might be looking at that and you might think, oh my gosh, that's loads and loads of numbers and graphs and pictures, and I don't understand any of it and I hate it and I want it to go away. Don't worry. One of the really great aspects of Google Analytics is pretty much anything has a little information bubble next to it. Pretty much every term that you come across has that little information bubble. And if you hover your mouse pointer over the information bubble, it will tell you what these different things mean. So you can learn as you use it. And the other great thing about Google Analytics is that no matter what you change, no matter what you fiddle about with, you pretty much can't break anything. You're never going to be able to break your website by fiddling about with Google Analytics, by clicking on things. So you can always click on anything and see what happens and see where it takes you and explore that way. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to lose anything. All it's going to do is take you to different parts of your data. And that's a really great way to learn. So even if it seems overwhelming or intimidating, don't worry. It all will make sense once you have a fiddle about with it and a play about with it and see what it does. So setting up a Google Analytics account, well, the first thing you need to do is go to analytics.google.com. And I can see that Benedict has already shared that in the chat. Fantastic. Thank you, Benedict. Once you go to analytics.google.com, you will see in the top, I'm going to use my virtual laser pointer. In the top right-hand corner, there's a little button that says Start for Free. I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but there's a button in the top right that says Start for Free. And that is how you get started with Google Analytics. That's how you set up your account. Once you've clicked on that, you'll be able to choose a name for your account. And then you can choose basically any name, whatever name makes sense to you. But most people are going to choose their business name. And then you choose an industry category. All this is for is just giving you data to compare with your business. So it's not the end of the world if you can't find a category that exactly matches what you do. Just choose the closest to what you do. Because again, all that Google Analytics is going to use that for is it's going to let you compare yourself to the average business in your industry category. So if you do choose the wrong industry category, you can always ignore that. So don't worry too much. The most important thing is setting up a name that you're happy with. Then we get to the complicated bit, and that is setting up the tracking code for Google Analytics. So this is how you actually get it to work. This is how it starts collecting data, because it needs to have a little bit of code on your website in order to work, because you're essentially giving Google Analytics permission to collect data from your website. So there has to be a little bit of code on your site in order to allow that to happen. So if you have developed your own website, if you know what all this means, you can go into your settings, go into admin, then tracking info, then tracking code, and you'll see a global site tag, and that is a string of code. You can see it's this bit on the screen. It is just a lot of different code, and a lot of this maybe doesn't make any sense to you. Don't worry too much about what the code actually means. All you need to know is that you need to paste that code at the top of the code of every page on your website that you want tracked. And it sits above the head tag. Now, you might not know what that means if you didn't build your website yourself. Don't worry, we'll explain in a second how to set this up if you haven't built your website yourself. But it needs to go above the head tag on each of the pages, because that means it will be the first thing that loads. And that's really important, because what you don't want is Google to miss any data, because then you will get incorrect data from every single person who arrives. And if you put the code in any other place in the website code, if it's like the last thing that loads, or even just the second thing that loads, it means that it's not going to start recording data until after some of the page is loaded, and you're going to start getting errors and data that isn't accurate. So you do need to make sure it's the first thing that loads on your page. If someone else built your website for you, you can give this to them and they will almost certainly be able to set this up for you. It doesn't take very long. It is just a matter of copying and pasting that code into your website pages. Depends how many pages you've got on your website, of course. It could be quite complicated, but it shouldn't take too long. The other thing is that if you have a website builder, so if you've used something like Wix or WordPress or Squarespace or GoDaddy, any kind of website builder like that, pretty much all of them, as far as I know, have a place in their settings that let you set up Google Analytics. And all you need to do, if you, I'm going to go back a bit. If you see, we've got this tracking ID that we've got this nice big arrow pointing to. The tracking ID there, all you need to do is find your Google Analytics settings in your website builder, and paste that tracking ID into wherever it says that you should paste it. And then the website builder will do the rest. It will automatically paste that code all of the places in the website where it needs to go. So you will automatically have that set up for you. So it is a lot easier if you've got a website builder. Now, there are 4 main areas of reporting. Again, this isn't how Google Analytics is currently set up, but there are 4 areas of data that Google Analytics has always been able to provide. And those are: who is your audience? How did your audience find you? What do your audience do when they get onto the website? And what are they worth to you? The last one, which is called conversions, that's even bigger in Google Analytics 4. There's loads and loads and loads of different conversions that you can set up, so you can track whenever your customers do certain things and gain a lot of really great insights and data that way. So whenever you see data in Google Analytics, it's going to look a bit like this. And we've got 2 segments here. The left-hand segment, we've put this in green, is that's where we've got the what we call the dimension. And the dimension is what is being measured. And it's not a number. Whatever it is, whenever you don't see a number, that's usually the dimension. So in this case, we've got what we're looking at here is the different channels that people could arrive on your website from. So we've got organic search, we've got social media down here, we've got paid search, we've got direct, which is when someone just types the name of your website into their search bar, or when they click on a bookmark. Those are both direct. Those are all the things that are being measured. So it's showing you what the different channels are. And then the next thing it's showing you is the metrics, the numbers that go with those dimensions. So for organic search, for example, again, you might not be able to see this because it is a little bit small, but I'll read it out for you. So organic search is the first channel that we're looking at, and we can see here are the metrics associated with that channel. So we've got users, first of all. How many users came to your website from organic search? Well, in this case, it's 7,340. New users is the next metric, and that's how many of those users were brand new. How many of them were people who've never been to your website before. In this case, we've got 6,571. How many sessions were there? That's how many times do people log onto your website, because sometimes each user can log on to your website more than one time. So one user can have multiple sessions. In this case, we can see that we've got 8,050 coming from organic search. If we look lower down, we see social media. Those metrics are different. So we've got 435 users coming from social media. 396 of them are new. So those metrics are measuring the dimension. It's telling you, all of the different parts of data that you can learn from Google Analytics is shown in this way. It makes more sense when you look at it. It should be quite easy to read when you look at it. You'll be able to see. And again, you might be able to see there's little question marks next to pretty much all of the terms in Google Analytics. If you hover your mouse pointer over those question marks, it will show you a definition of what the term actually means. So we need to use this reach, engage, action, nurture. We need to use that to ask the right questions, and then we can use Google Analytics to find the answers, and we can do something with the data. So let's start off with reach. We want to know how people are finding me online. Well, we can find that with Google Analytics. So what we do is we go to Google Analytics. Now, again, it is different. This is Universal Analytics. You would follow the steps on the screen. In this case, it says GA acquisition, all traffic, channels report. It's actually a lot simpler in Google Analytics 4. There are 3 different reports, and you will find it on your dashboard straight away. But what you will see is exactly the same data that I showed you just now on the previous slides. What you will see is that you've got all of the different ways that people have been able to find you, and all of the numbers associated with them. So you see at the top of, again, it's a little bit small, but at the top of the table, you get the totals. So in this case, again, you might not be able to see it, but we've got in this website that we're looking at here today, excuse me, we've got a total of 14,039 visitors. That's 14,039 users, sorry. Underneath that, we can see how they break down with the different channels. So 7,500 of them came from organic search. 2,188 of them came directly to the website. So they just typed the website's name into their search bar. 1,123 came from social media. 778 came from paid search ads. So we can look at all of that different data, and that's telling you how people are finding you. In this case, by far, the most important way people are finding this business is through organic search. Over 50% of all of their visitors come from organic search. So compared to the others, that's a massive, massive, massive group. So this business can look at that data and go, right, okay, people are finding us through organic search. That means we are doing something right. But it also means that maybe people aren't currently finding us a lot through social media. So maybe we could step up our social media game and work harder on that. Or maybe if they've not done any work on their search engine optimization or SEO, they might think, well, great, people are already finding us loads through organic search. That's fantastic. So maybe now we work at improving that, because we already know we're getting loads of people through. So we could get even more people through if we do a bit of work on our SEO, because we know now by looking at this data, we know people are searching for our product or our service and are finding us, which is really great news. What could we do with this information? Again, we could look a little bit further into the data. We could look at which search terms people are using to find us. And again, maybe learn which ones we aren't using and which words we should use more on our website. Sorry, excuse me, I'm coughing more during this session than I have in a while. It's quite hard to talk for an hour solidly with a cough. We could look to improve links from our social media platforms. We could develop relationships with referral websites. We can basically learn where are our customers coming from and where aren't they coming from? And so which channels could we be improving on? Again, maybe it's referral websites, maybe it's social media, maybe it's email, but it's definitely telling us useful data. What about the next stage, engage? What are people engaging with when they find you online? Well, again, there's an entire behavior report in Google Analytics 4. It's really easy to find. Just click on behavior and you'll get a lot of this detail. In this case, in Universal Analytics or Google Analytics 3, what you'll find is that you can go to behavior, then site content, then all pages. And what you'll see is a list of all of the pages in your website. And again, we can look at each of those and we can see how many page views they're getting, which is how many times they've been viewed, how many unique page views. So that's basically how many users are viewing the page. Just slightly different again, because remember, each user can view a page more than once. We can see how long people spend on each page on average. We can see how many people left your website on each page. Again, all of this is telling you really useful information, especially if you've got either products on your website or a blog. Now, your blog or your products each of those are pages on your website. And as you can see, we've got all of the pages sorted by page views. So homepage, again, you probably can't see that because it's tiny, but on this particular website, the number one page in terms of page views is the homepage. That's pretty standard. It's pretty common. Most websites, their most visited page is going to be the homepage for what should be obvious reasons. And then we've got loads of other different ones, but none of them are that useful at the minute. We've got things like the basket page, the checkout page, the sign in page. All of these, yeah, it's good that people are going to them. But what we're really looking for is things like products. Which of your products is getting the most page views? Or which of your blogs is getting the most page views? That can be really useful because that's telling you what people are interested in. Which of your pages are people spending the most time on average? That's, again, a very useful thing to ask. It's going to tell you what your audience is interested in. What do they engage with? There's another metric which is called the bounce rate. Now, the bounce rate is a little bit of a complicated metric. It is the percentage of people who leave your web page without interacting with anything. So what that usually means is basically without clicking on anything. So if I go to your homepage and I scroll down and I read your homepage and I think, okay, this isn't for me, and then I leave the website, I close the tab or I hit back, I've bounced. I would count as having bounced because I didn't click on anything in that page. It doesn't matter that I read the whole thing. It doesn't matter how long I spent on it. If I haven't interacted with anything else, I am counted as a bounce, and your bounce rate will show you the percentage of people who bounce, which can be a good indication of how engaging your website is. If loads of people are going to your website, looking at it and then leaving straight away without clicking on anything, that's a sign that you've not got a very engaging website. Whereas if lots of people are coming to your website and immediately going, oh, I'm gonna click on that page because I want to read more, that's good. That's a really good sign that you've got an engaging website. So we want a low bounce rate, as low as possible. Don't worry too much if your bounce rate is high. A lot of businesses have very high bounce rates. It's nothing to be too worried about, but we are going to hopefully work to get them down. So again, what questions can we ask and what can we actually do with this data? Well, we could look at which pages aren't getting any views, and we can try and work out why aren't they getting any views. Are there any of our blogs that just nobody has read? Are there any of our products that nobody is interested in? okay, why? What's common with those blogs and those products? And of course, we can do something with that data. We can either change our product range or we can write different blogs. And of course, we can look at the opposite. We can look at what is really engaging our visitors. We can look at which pages they spend loads of time on, which pages they visit over and over and over again. A really common one was we can realize that we lose a lot of people at specific pages. So, for example, the payment page. I don't know if this is something that anyone's familiar with, but if you've ever gone to a website and tried to buy something, and you click on basket and then you click on checkout, and then you have to put in some details, and then you go to shipping and you have to put in more details, and then you go to payment and you have to put in more details, and eventually you think, you know what, I can't be bothered with this is too much, and you abandon that purchase. So that can be quite common. If you can look at your data in Google Analytics and see which pages have a lot of people exiting them, you can see if that's the case for you, if lots of people are leaving your website when they get to certain parts of the buying process. Activate is next. Which channel is driving the most bookings and the most sales? So again, we can look at channels just like we were doing before. We can look at where people are coming from, and we can look at which conversions they have completed. Now, conversions is something we're going to look at in a second. But basically, you can set up anything as a conversion. Sometimes it can be a little bit complicated to work out how, but when you go to conversions, they're called events now, I think. And when you go to events, you go to conversions, you're basically saying, I would like Google Analytics to track whenever anybody does this thing. So a really common one, maybe you want to track whenever anyone arrives on the thank you for making a purchase page that they arrive on when their purchase has been finalized. That will tell you how many times people have made a purchase and finalized a purchase. So that's a conversion. That's a really good thing to measure. You could also measure, for example, how many, whenever someone gets to the checkout page. So you can see how many people get to the checkout page but don't finish their purchase. Again, it's giving you data that you can rely on. And when you set that up, you can then look at it by channel. So you can see we've got conversion rates here. What percentage of your audience completes each of those conversions, each of those events that you've set up? And you can see it by channel. So you can see which channel is driving the most purchases, for example. You might find that, okay, most of your audience is coming from organic search, but maybe that's not where people are buying. Maybe most of the people who actually pay for things are coming from social media, in which case, even though you're getting more visitors from organic search, you might want to change your focus to the ones that's going to get you more sales. So again, what can we learn from this information? We could work out where our conversions are coming from. We can work out which referral sites drive conversions if you've got referral sites set up, and you can look for underperforming ones. But you can also work out which is your most valuable marketing channel. Again, it might not matter. Maybe you're getting loads and loads of people through from one channel, but if they're not making a purchase, then something needs to change. You need to work out, well, why are they not making a purchase? And where are the people who actually make a purchase coming from? And how can I appeal more to those people? Last but not least, we have nurture. And this is, are my customers happy to leave a review? Now, this is another thing that you need to set up yourself, which you absolutely can do. You also might want to look at metrics on things like your Google business profile. People do leave reviews on that. They might leave reviews on Facebook. All of these things that you can track. But again, on Google Analytics, especially if they're leaving reviews on your own website, you can track that with conversions. Again, in previous Google Analytics, it was you go to conversions, then e-commerce, then custom reports. Now it is slightly different. But again, Benedict's already shared a link to the Google Analytics Academy. In terms of how you actually learn how to use Google Analytics, the Analytics Academy is a really good option. So again, when we know how to track this and we know how to understand, right, what percentage of my audience leaves reviews, and of course we can read those reviews, we can learn, right, what is it that people love about our products? How do we encourage people to leave reviews? Maybe we can even ask them, why did you choose to leave a review today? It's really great that you did, but why is it that you did? One thing to point out that we always want to do is we want to respond to all of our reviews. It doesn't matter if they're good reviews or bad reviews. We always want to respond to them. And if they are a bad review, we don't want to start an argument. We don't want to fight with the person who left a bad review. We want to work out, why did they have a bad experience with you? Is there anything you can do to help? And how can you show them, but also anybody who might see that review, that this is not usual for you and that you're willing to make a change, or that you're able to help them out? Because that's going to show not only the customer who left the review, if it's a bad review, it kind of doesn't matter about them. They've had a bad experience with you. It's unlikely they're going to become a repeat customer. But everybody else who sees that review are going to look at that and think, oh, well, that's a 1-star review. That's not good. But if they can see that you've responded to that review and you've explained, I'm really sorry, it's really not usual for that to happen with us. It's just bad luck on your part, but we apologize, and here's how we're going to make it up to you. Well, then all of the people looking at that bad review will see, oh, okay, well, now I understand it a little bit more. Now I understand that you're not a bad business. It's just that this particular thing happens. And it's also really great to see that you're so passionate about making sure that all of your customers have a good experience. So you can turn that bad review into something good. If you just have an argument with them, all it's going to show your audience is that if they have a bad experience, you're going to argue with them. And that means they might not want to have any kind of experience with you at all, because they'd worry that if anything goes wrong, you'll get angry. So you do have to be very positive when you're responding to reviews. But using data, we can learn where those reviews are coming from. We can learn how we can get more of them. And again, we can take action with all of this data. We can take action to make sure that we have got that we're doing the right things to improve our business. So we're coming to the end of the session. Don't think we've got any more questions. No, it doesn't look like we have. Scrolling through the chat, I can see that Benedict has answered a question. I'm just going to repeat it for the benefit of anybody who's not looking at the chat. Parkesh has asked, if you're using Universal Analytics and you don't start using Google Analytics 4, will your analytics account be deleted? No, it won't be deleted. You're able to use Universal Analytics as long as you can, but Google is trying to phase it out. The safest thing, the best thing to do is always to move over to Google Analytics 4. It might seem scary, but it is very, very, very similar. It's just that all of the data is in different places now. Most people say that they find it a lot easier to use and that they find it more useful. So it is worth making that change over to Google Analytics 4 rather than Universal Analytics. But if you don't want to, if you really don't want to, don't worry. There are no plans to delete any accounts yet, as far as I'm aware, at least. So don't worry too much. Brilliant. So thank you so much for listening. What are your next steps today? Well, remember, we do have that free one-to-one mentoring available. Anyone who works for a small business or a charity in the UK can access a full hour of mentoring from one of our Google Digital Garage trainers. So do take advantage of that. Again, the link is right there on the screen. It's g.co/UK mentoring. And Benedict has shared it in the chat, I'm sure. And apart from that, well, we have got a feedback form, goo.girl/digital garage feedback. If you think we've done a great job today, or if you think we've done a terrible job today, please do leave us some feedback, because it really does help us to improve these sessions. It would be really, really welcome. And then the only other thing for me to say is thank you. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope it's been useful. Big, big, big thank you to Benedict. He's been a fantastic moderator. I'm sure you all agree with that statement. So make sure you're letting him know how great he's been down in the chat. And again, thank you so much for watching, and for all of your comments and for all of your hellos. It's been a really great session, so thank you so much. I am going to sign off now, and give my weary voice a bit of a rest. So thank you again, everybody. Stay safe, and I hopefully will see you again on another Google Digital Garage webinar. So goodbye.